So in this module, I got you in here with the title, I've had a relapse, because that is the word that most sobriety programs use to explain the phenomenon or the behavior where you've set a goal to not drink and you don't meet that goal on a certain day or for a certain time period. And so we call that a relapse. And words are just containers of meaning. We have to agree on what a relapse is for it to have any meaning. It's just a sound that comes out of our mouth. But in most places, relapse means that you've failed. It means that you are not meeting the goal, that you're not doing it right, that you've done something wrong, that the journey you're on, like if you're in an AA program, if you've gone, X number of days with being sober, then now you go back to square one. And that is a way to look at it. And for some people, it's effective. It's a way to use fear as a motivator, so that if you get up to the point and you're having urges and cravings and you really want to have a drink, it's maybe the thing that will keep you from doing it is, well, I don't want to have to start all over. I don't want to have to tell other people that I failed. I don't want to call Colleen and tell her, that I've had a drink and I've ruined my sobriety. Well, that framework is just a story. It's one of many options for you to examine what is happening for you. And what I'm going to invite you into is a different way of thinking about it. If you remember from the webinar that you probably watched before you came into this program, I said that sobriety is the vehicle, not the destination. Sobriety is the vehicle for, sobriety is one of the many things that we need to do to heal. It is a way to clear our minds and to harness our focus and to ignite our passion and our enthusiasm. Sobriety is a way to reclaim our health, but it doesn't have to be an identity. It doesn't have to define you. You don't have to become a sober-tarian. And I wouldn't describe myself as a sober person. For now and for the foreseeable future, I consider myself a non-drinker because I have become aware of the damaging, poisonous effects that alcohol has had on my body and my emotional health and my mental health. But I don't identify with that in the way that, say, I might identify, for a while I identified as a vegan. And so that was who I was. And really what I discovered with veganism and many other identities I've tried on in my life is that it becomes a way to set conditions for when I can love myself and when I can't, when I should withhold love from myself, and by extension to other people. So when we decide that there's some ideal that we want to identify with, then if we can't measure up to that ideal, then we don't deserve love. Then we're failures. Then there's something wrong with us. And we internalize that, and it becomes a mechanism for generating shame and for living in shame. But really, there is no positive outcomes from negative mindset. So having shame about our behaviors is never going to lead us into joy or freedom. So while I love creating the sober mindset, and I love the non-drinker mentality, and I love conversing with people who are on the same journey as I am and sharing experiences and helping each other through setbacks and what have you, I don't identify. This is not who I am. I don't have anything to prove to myself or anyone else. Or at least I'm trying to not have anything to prove. Of course, I'm human and I get attached to ideas and I set goals and I want to do it. But I'm more and more interested in letting go of those attachments to ideals. And we can see how being attached to an ideal doesn't always mostly go our way. I mean, you think about, I used to identify as a drinker. And I was so attached to being a drinker and identifying with other people who are drinking and being a part of the culture and happy hour and cheers that I negated the evidence that it wasn't working for me anymore. And so I put my health into jeopardy, and I put my friendships and relationships into jeopardy because I was doing something that ultimately I wasn't examining the evidence for, because I was identifying with an idea more than I was identifying with reality. And the truth is that addiction is multifaceted. You know, there is a physical addiction that when we drink on a regular basis, we're not drinking because we want the drink so much as we're uncomfortable because we don't have one because of withdrawals. And, you know, how our brain chemistry is affected, and we have low dopamine and things that make us kind of feel low, that alcohol can be the medicine for that, even though the problem was caused by alcohol. You know, we just get stuck in this cycle. But it's not just brain chemistry. We've also kind of forgotten the importance of managing our urges. So alcohol puts us into a place where we're always kind of seeking instant gratification so that we can feel better. And that then bleeds over into other areas of our life, and our self-esteem about who we are as a disciplined, productive, powerful person begins to be undermined because we can't control our urges. Alcohol is also, you know, a way to avoid or procrastinate identifying what it is that we need, because when we're caught in the cycle of drinking, you know, we come home and instead of dealing with the emotions of our hard day or digging into that project that is kind of, you know, holding us back, whatever that is, or, you know, we just veg out, we drink, we watch Netflix because we just are trying to entertain ourselves, instant gratification to relieve some sort of discomfort. And we're not willing to be uncomfortable and lean into that and really uncover what the deal is. So addiction has, you know, alcohol addiction has many, many different components and dimensions that once we remove it, we have to address. But if when we remove it, we just exchange one problem for another, in one identity that doesn't work for us for another, then we're not really getting anywhere. So if you've had a drink, I'm not going to call it a relapse. I'm not even going to call it a setback. We can call it whatever we want. The story that would work for me as a coach is to approach it with curiosity and consider it as a learning experience. You know, what happened? Let's go through it. How did it feel? Are you truly upset that you had the drink, or are you upset because you didn't meet your goal? These are the questions that I would ask. And when you ask questions and have curiosity without fear, you have to ask all the questions, including, did I enjoy that? And was it really a problem? And that can be very scary. And that is one of the, I guess, benefits of doing a more traditional sobriety program where sobriety is the goal. And so you don't have to think, you don't have to ask yourself the question of, you know, what's right for me right now, because somebody else is telling you you should not be having a drink. But even though I believe that giving up alcohol for a period of time to where your life looks different. Like for me, I'm not going to say that I'm never going to have a drink. I'm going to say that I am so enjoying freedom from that, and it's way too soon to even consider uh, reintroducing alcohol. And for me, I asked myself, well, why would I do that? And I don't have a good why. I don't have a reason to put it back in, because I have done the work to address my social concerns and to address my emotional discomforts and to address my beliefs about what alcohol is and does to my body. I've done all that work. So I'm not really interested in learning how to drink alcohol again any more than I'd like try to figure out how to drink the laundry detergent. Like, why? And I can't say that I'll think that forever. But my goal with sobriety is that I trust myself to make good decisions and to learn from decisions that ultimately I don't want to repeat. I don't even want to call them mistakes. We're just all doing the best we can here. So if you've had a drink, just know that thinking badly about yourself is not going to serve you. Identifying as a sober person only so that you can beat yourself with the stick when you don't achieve your goal is not the way to move into freedom, including freedom from alcohol. So the only motivation that brings lasting self-care is one of self-love. That's it. Do you love yourself enough to stay present and to pay attention and to be curious about what's going on? And so if you've had a drink, the first thing that I would encourage you to do is not lie or hide, letting me know, because that's what you've paid me to do, is to open up space for you and hold space so that you can explore and figure out whatever it is that you need and want to learn in order to become free and in order to find your own self-love. So there's no hiding. There's no relapse. Some people come into this program and it's immediate and they nail it and they never have another drink, and by never, life's really long, so I can't say that. But I mean, in the 12-week program. But just as many people have various levels of success in terms of if their goal is to not drink at all. Some people, they have, one drink, or maybe in the 12 weeks, they've got, a couple episodes where they kind of just went unconscious and suddenly, they're having drinks and there's 2 or 3 drinks that happen. And then some people struggle, and they don't ever even make the 10 days for, a month or two, because they have to build up, because they have to, I don't know, it's hard. And the only answer to that is to show up for yourself with grace and to let me show up with you and to let the group show up with you. There is no benefit to feeling guilty. So if you've had a drink, the first thing that you need to do is be present in this moment and acknowledge the truth. I had a drink, and don't attach any meaning to that you've wasted your money, that you're not going to be able to do this, that you're weak, that you're not disciplined, whatever. You just show up. I had a drink. How do I feel? Do I feel hungover? Do I feel like I need nutrients? Do I feel like I need a nap? Do I feel like I need a better plan for next time because I'm not pleased with that? Or maybe you think, my goal is to not drink, but I did yesterday and it's not that big of a deal. That's okay too. I can't tell you what it means for you. Only you can decide what it means. And any meaning that that produces or triggers shame is not helpful. So when you find yourself in this position, if you find yourself in this position, just approaching it with curiosity. Why did this happen? What did I really need? Was I trying to avoid something? Was I discomfortable? Did I, need to reach out and ask for support? Did I need to do something different with my social situation or with my isolation situation or whatever it is? It's just a learning experience, if you want to call it that. And I invite you to call it whatever you want. For me as a coach, that's generally how I frame it. But that's just a word that I make with my mouth that, we can both agree to identify with if you want to. So I just encourage you that this process is not even limited to 12 weeks. It's a lifetime journey. And this journey, from my perspective as a coach, is to help you get where you need to be in your relationship with yourself and accepting that you're human, identifying as a human woman who is struggling, who has struggled with alcohol use disorder and is actively working on reclaiming her power and her strength. That is a much more powerful identity. And loving yourself through the humanness of, breaking addiction is hard. And that is one thing, a story that we tell ourselves with, addiction, is that if you have a relapse, that somehow you're bad. But let's think of this in terms of people that struggle with other things, such as cancer. We call people who struggle with cancer warriors, and they might be horrible to everybody around them the whole time they're having cancer treatment, and they're struggling, and they're not, they're just dealing with it because they're sick and it's awful. And it's not like they're enlightened and grateful for their cancer. They're just struggling. And yet, whether they do that or whether they're like, this cancer is a gift and it's made me realize the value of my life, like whatever their result is mentally, we still identify people who have cancer as heroes and warriors, and they're doing battle. And then if they have a remission, we don't say, well, you're not doing your mental work enough. The sickness is inside your mind and you're not doing everything you can. So if you've had a relapse in cancer, somehow you're a personal failure. So notice that we don't have to apply that we can apply the same level of acceptance to alcohol use disorder as we can to other disorders such as cancer. They're just human experiences where the person experiencing it is trying to move from a state of illness into health. But it's not a binary thing. It's not like you're either ill or you're healthy. And in this process, we're just trying to move the needle. And so accepting where you are today is the only way to move forward. And looking back with regrets or having shame, not moving you forward. It's just not. So think about your journey with sobriety as something you're doing just for you. It's not to please anybody else, including the narrator judge in your head, the perfectionist in your head that says, okay, this is our new goal, and do it this way, do it exactly perfect, or else you're going to be a failure. Just try to feel your humanity and not have judgment, and focus on loving yourself where you're at in this moment, because until you do that, you can't move forward. So self-love is the only way forward. And if you, once you approach it with curiosity, then make an appointment with me and bring it to the group. And you'll be surprised at how many people have been exactly in this situation. And the answer is never punish yourself and say horrible things about yourself and go back to day one. That's just not how it is. You've signed up for a journey not to become the world's most stringent sober-tarian or sober person. You've signed up for a journey to reconnect with yourself. And that's my goal, to support you in that journey.